Okay, so what has money got to do with leadership talk? Okay, how does money concern a leadership talk? Um, in case you are lost, don't forget. Let's go back to the uh, your title slide. It says micro money matters, the micro money factor, and other human challenges. Okay, so what has money got to do with leadership talk? Right? Um, let's proceed. Here you can see, let's do some delimitation. Let's restrict what we are talking about, and as also try to rule out what we will not be talking about in terms of money. The micro money matters we're talking about. We're talking about staff welfare. Okay, we're talking about recurrent expenditure. We're talking about salaries and overhead. We're talking about profit and loss issues. This is what we're talking about when we mean micro money matters. This is what affects the leadership majorly in school. This is where leadership, success or failure um, uh, is comes to play. Really, these are the aspects that reflect leadership success and failure, or these are the aspects that borders on leadership issues. As it has to do with macro money matters such as project financing, source of capital, or the sinking funds, or return on investment. That is definitely out of the pale of our discussion, because those matters, like we have said, are not issues that come into active play in terms of influencing leadership failure or success, or as a matter of fact posing leadership challenge, as we have elucidated previously or above. Now let's look at the background of this. Let's face it, what has money got to do with leadership talk? Look at it. Let's face it. Let's not fake it. Socially speaking, it is money is the singular most influential factor that affect decision making in our own society today. When I say our own society, I'm talking about Nigeria. Take it or leave it. It is as bad as no money, no love. Number two, we are all here because of money. We are all here because of money. We are all in schools because we want to earn. Let us save the passion for teaching talk. Let's save that talk. Is people always say that in interviews they have passion for teaching. We're all here because we want to earn money to make a living. Sure, schools need to make profit or at least fund itself. Okay, staff need to earn a living. Simple and short. Number three, schools want to minimize overhead costs in line with revenue. Teachers want to earn more. So, question number one, how can teachers earn more without outweighing the school's revenue? How can that be possible? How can you continue to earn more without outweighing the school revenue? Because once the school revenue is outweighed, you can't even earn little, let alone more. Um, economically speaking, okay, we have this challenge of okay, let's look at it. Number one, we have because prices have quadrupled. Okay, that is why we said an emerging challenge. Let's say in the last uh, 1.5 years to 2 years or so. Okay, because prices have quadrupled. Uh, Teachers are now asking for very high salaries, very very high. Every employer of labor should know that now. When teachers come for interview now, what they are asking for is tremendously high. It's as if they held a conference. Applicants held a conference, but you see that similarity. Transportation is an issue for them. Eh? Feeding is an issue for them. Sometimes you even wonder how your staff survive. Actually, let's forget rentage. You can't even talk about rentage now. We can't talk about wardrobe and savings. Even transportation and feeding cannot be contained within the average salary that is obtainable. I can even say anywhere within the country. I'm talking about the average. So, um, a fresh graduate, another aspect of the challenge is a fresh graduate without experience was just receiving 70,000 naira in NYC and must hope for better. So, where do private schools start from? I mean, even someone without experience now psychologically needs to earn more than 70,000. That means you can't be paying less than 70,000. How many schools can afford this? 3. The government that gets free money from our common resources and from taxing us, yet cannot employ even 3% of the population, has placed minimum wage at 70,000 naira, using a public sector argument to conclude for both public and private sectors. Yes, it's a public sector argument that price of things have increased, so our salary should increase. Because that is just the consumption sector. The private sector is productivity sector. You consume based on your production. All right. That's an entitlement, sector. Private sector is what? Is responsibility must balance with entitlement. So this is the situation, thereby creating a condition that will lead to further unemployment as the major employers of labor are shutting down. So, question number 2, what should actually determine pay? Is it the value of your productivity or cost of living or the cost of your consumption? Is it what should determine how much I pay you? Is it how much is the cost of rice in the market? Is it how much you need to survive? Someone will tell you that I'm married, I have this. Is this marriage going to feed your wife? Is it what you are doing for me that determines the pay I pay you, or is the cost of your own living? These are critical questions. Good. On the other hand, again, you can see that schools operate in the same economy of inflation. It's not as if it is only the staff that have been faced with this, being bedeviled with this inflation. Okay, the cost of other things besides salary required to run the school has also quadrupled as well. Look at it. Schools cannot jack up school fees like other businesses. No, the only business, the poorest business or the slowest business in terms of increment of charges is schools. Other business increases their prices as soon as there's a rumor, but schools, on the average, school fees for private schools are at secondary level below is increased every 5 years on the average. So many parents can't even pay the current school fees because the inflation has made their earning insufficient. So how do you go further to increase school fees when they can't pay the present fee? Though teachers' migration has always been a traditional challenge, as one colleague has argued, it has always been a traditional challenge. We know that, okay, with private schools, teachers will continue to migrate, you move around, like we told you, for 1,000 naira, for 2,000 naira, teachers will move. They will change schools. But this recent development in terms of high salary demand based on inflation has a different scope. It's an emerging trend. It's on a different scope. The problem now is on a different scope. It's not the same as the traditional migration of teachers. This is now a new challenge, an emerging challenge, where the salary demand now, based on on all we have, highlighted so far, is on another scope. So, what should and can be done to ensure schools don't close down? Because that is the obvious direction that things are tilting to. And to ensure teachers can still have a place to work. Because, like I said to one, interviewee or one applicant, when his demand for higher pay was not well mannered. Demanding for high pay is one thing, but putting it in the right manner is another thing. And the question to him is, as you guys continue to demand for higher pay, you don't forget that this is a shared responsibility. The schools or the school owners only manage to provide a job for you for the now. So continue to this is a national problem. Is a challenge that we should all bear. Both employers and employees should all bear it. There's a way you can stand on a platform without leaning with all your weight. But when you decide to lean with all your weight, by the time the platform collapses, you collapse as well. The platform is the schools, the employers. The you is the you. So if it's something that we all have to adjust our consumption or increase our productivity to all cope with. But if we now think that we have to transfer all this burden to the employers, what happens when the employers can no longer cope because the schools cannot demand for extra revenue. So by the time everybody now, asks for triple, quadrupled salaries, when the schools can no longer pay, they close down. When they close down, then you can't even take the most minimal of salaries. So you go back home, and when you are back home as an employee, you will still eat, you will still clothe, you still do so many other things. Perhaps you may not pay transport, but we know that you consume more when you are idle than when you are productive, right? Because you see, the reason why it's important is pertinent to ask this question because government can't, okay, government cannot, it's supposed to be can't, not can, okay? The government cannot school everybody. So if school goes down, it's a problem. So it's a big challenge. What do we do? The government cannot school everybody. All the population that the private schools are, educating, left to the street, the government can't cater for that, and government cannot employ the entire population. So if private schools continue to shut down, there will be a lot of this huge amount of unemployment, alarming rate of unemployment. So what are the solutions? What do you think are the solutions to this? What do I call it? Is it an in-place or an imbroglio or this situation? So let's discuss that in the interactive session or the question session. Thank you very much.